looking down from the control tower at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base in Alpena, Michigan, where the 114th Fighter Interceptor Group holds its summer active duty period. The film you'll see in the next quarter hour was made as the group began its second week of training. We'll try to give you a look at a lot of different Air Guardsmen and the jobs they do while they're in training. This is an annual effort on the part of the more than 800 Guardsmen, and they take their work quite seriously. They work hard during the duty hours, and then they enjoy themselves when they're off the job. The purpose of this training period is to put into practice the things they have learned about being Air Guardsmen during the 48 training sessions they have attended throughout the year. Of course, the primary objective is to get as many F-89s into the air and over the rocket range as possible. Every member of the unit works toward this end, whether the men work in the mess hall, in personnel work, maintenance, armament, or as a pilot or radar observer. The men of the 114th are proud of the record they have made over the past 14 years. They are confident that they can perform their duties well, which they will have to do if they are called upon again in a real emergency. Look closely during this quarter hour, and you'll see the faces of your friends, your neighbors, and relatives as they go about the job of being prepared for a tough job if the need ever arises. You have a look at our installation here at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base. I'd like to have you meet now the commanding officer of the 114th Air Defense Group, Colonel Corning, and also the commanding officer of the 175th Fighter Squadron. These two fellows are getting out of the car now. Gentlemen, how are you? Can we visit for just a moment?
Sure, thank you.
I know that, Colonel, each year that the 114th goes to camp, you fellows have got special problems, and I know it's interesting to compare your efforts this year with efforts of previous years. How are things going?
They've been going real well. I think the major changes come in the sections being more proficient, more professional in approach to their duties. And specifically, our dispensary has improved a lot with the addition of Dr. Anderson, Dr. Dean, and our two new nurses.
A little later in the program, we're going to take a real close look at that dispensary, see what kind of an operation they have down there. This, as I told the folks a while ago, is being filmed in the middle, beginning of the second week. How was the first week?
It was real good, other than we did hit some bad flying weather with low ceilings and low visibilities and cut us off the range for a couple of 3 days, but we'll pick it up now.
Major Berger, what did you do to offset that?
We got behind, as the Colonel says, but we had a squadron navigation flight, and I think it's probably the longest one that's ever been recorded during a camp activity. We covered 100,000 miles over the weekend with the entire squadron.
You sent all the airplanes out?
We sent them all out, got them all back, and we're up to date.
That's the important thing, to get them all back.
It sure is. It's a real tribute to maintenance that we sent as many airplanes out as we did, and they all covered 100,000 miles. The group covered 100,000 miles. They all got back in good shape.
Justin, what progress has been made in the fighter squadron this year?
Well, as the Colonel says, proficiency is so much greater than it's ever been before, and both on the maintenance point and from the aircrew point, so that every mission that we've done so far has been accomplished in a fine manner and a high degree of professionalism.
Have you got any new plans for 1960 61?
Well, yes, sir, we have. The unit, of course, right now we're in the process of converting to the 89J. We got 2 of them here, and we'll have more this month.
This is a different type airplane?
It's basically the same aircraft that has finer improvements, refinements in radar and the armament section.
A different weapon.
Different weapon, much more effective.
Colonel, how are we on strength in the unit now?
Well, right now we're just about up to strength, but we anticipate that we'll be able to use a considerable number of new men in the next 3 or 4 months, probably.
Could we send out an invitation at this point for anybody that might be interested in checking into membership in the Air Guard to check with you fellas at operations or in the group headquarters?
I think this would be real good. In the past, we've had quite a waiting list, and we've depleted that pretty well, so their chances of getting in are real good at this time.
Well, there's your chance, young fellas. If you want to check in membership in the Air National Guard of South Dakota, this is the invitation direct from the Colonel and from Major Berger. Now let's take a look at the other things going on around the base at Alpena.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to fire a rotor moving fine. Number 1, rotor lock. Number 2, rotor lock. Let's take it up. We'll get maximum firing this way. Allowing the gun to operate in pairs.
means strange that these Air National Guardsmen are firing such a weapon as this, but this is just another phase of the active duty operation at Alpena, Michigan, and these are some of the Air Guardsmen that are learning how to fire the 30 caliber machine gun out here at the firing range at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base. Our camera is located now at the dispensary at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Roscoe Dean of Washington Springs and Dr. Anderson from, if I have this right, Canton, South Dakota. And we are here in the dispensary where at the present time polio shots are being given. I'd like to talk to the two doctors just for a moment, find out not necessarily what our capabilities are at this present base, but what we have to offer the Air Guardsmen at Sioux Falls. Dr. Dean, can you answer that?
We can give all emergency care. We keep our shots up to date. That includes polio that we're giving here today, typhoid, tetanus, diphtheria, and smallpox vaccination.
In the way of bigger or heavier medical equipment, what do we have at the base, at the dispensary at Sioux Falls, Dr. Dean?
We have good x-ray equipment to take care of any emergency that may arise. We have 4 beds. We occasionally put men to bed during a drill. In case of an emergency, we have facilities for enlarging the installation that is the dispensary part of it, so that we can put men to bed out in the hangar in case there was a thermonuclear attack or in case we were confronted with any other kind of a natural emergency.
Dr. Dean, I would imagine you're pleased to have extra help now on the medical staff with Dr. Anderson. And I imagine it took some doing to get Dr. Anderson to make a regular trip from Canton each month, and especially this 2-week tour of duty over here at Michigan. Dr. Anderson, what prompted your decision to join this Air National Guard unit?
Well, a number of things entered into my decision. I've never been in the service before, and I felt that I could successfully serve my country in this capacity and serve with the boys that I know and the people that I know here in South Dakota.
Well, I'll tell you, we're mighty pleased to have you, and we're also pleased to have, of course, the 2 new nurses who have been added to our staff, Mrs. Solom and Miss Lee, who are, I think, Sioux Falls members. One may be from Mrs. Solom. You're from Minneapolis, isn't that correct? But nevertheless, we're pleased to have a more complete medical staff this year than we were last. Well, that's the story on the dispensary. Of course, more could be told, but our time is just about up in our location here at the dispensary at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base. Thank you, gentlemen. An unusual training operation took place this past weekend at Alpena, Michigan, at Phelps Collins Air National Guard Base. Some of these fellows you see coming in here are pilots and radar observers from the fighter squadron. Here's Lieutenant Marv Randall. Looks like you fellows are pretty well loaded down with all sorts and sundry types of gear here, Marv. What happened? Where were you, and what have you been doing this past weekend?
Well, Captain Russell, we just returned from a weekend cross-country trip. We went down to El Paso, left here yesterday morning, and in 6 hours of flying time, we were in Biggs Air Force Base, El Paso, and we spent the night there, visited Juarez, Mexico, and came back today. It's taken us 4 hours and 30 minutes to get back today. We had 8 airplanes, 16 crew members here, and we figured it up a few minutes ago that we have flown a cumulative 40,000 miles this weekend.
Marv, what was the reason for this trip?
Well, it's a chance that a few of us don't often get to go cross-country in a flight, and the reason was primarily for training in navigation, flight leadership, and so forth.
Did you have any language barrier down there close to the border, Marv?
We had a little bit of a barrier, but we got that straightened out along about Dallas when we all learned to say our call signs in Spanish, and it worked out pretty well at Biggs Tower.
Did any of the other airplanes from the group go anyplace else?
Yes, we had a flight of 9 aircraft that went to Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. 3 airplanes went on out to Seattle. And so far, the information we can get is that they're all en route back, and it looks like we're going to get everyone back that we sent out.
That's even more amazing, isn't it?
That's the third minor miracle of the weekend.
Well, thank you very much for gathering up around the camera and the microphone here, and pick up your bongo drums and your guitars and serapes and all the other things, and have a good week of flying, and thank you very much for stopping by. These are the boys that have been flying this past week up here at Alpena, and I think they had an enjoyable weekend, and they'll have a good hard week of flying ahead of them. Major George Funston is the mother hen to a lot of F-89. He's also the group engineering officer of the 114th, and he has his hands full during the 2-week active duty period because the maintenance problems are always a part of summer camp. George, have you got a minute to talk with us? Can you come on over? How things been going so far at camp, George?
So far, they've been going real well.
Haven't had any major problems or any serious accidents?
No, our problems have been routine so far. We hope it stays that way this week.
George, we heard rumored that we have a new airplane coming to the group. Do you anticipate any new engineering problems with that airplane?
Well, basically, the F-89J is very similar to the aircraft we have at the present time. Our changeover will be routine. I believe nothing that we can't solve in a short time.
I hope you all heard that. The airplane just leaves the ground behind us, and it may have drowned out a little bit of the conversation. George, thank you very much. I hope you and your fellows continue to have a successful camp period, and we'll keep our fingers crossed on the big problem.
Real good. I think we'll have a real good camp this
Thank
year.
you very much, George.
Extra fuel out or what?
Huh?
Is it dumping just the extra fuel?
Yeah. He's dumping the extra fuel so that the blast of the rockets won't bother the tip.
I see.
Yeah, it's all gone now.
Be a little plenty.
There we go. I hope we got it. He's making little corrections there.
I'll show you on the camera around it if you want to talk a little bit.
Okay. We need to have little corrections in there and get that right in the center so we're right in the middle. Still got the button. Major Marion Phelps was sent to Sioux Falls about 3 years ago as an Air Force senior air advisor to maintain liaison with the Air Force and the South Dakota Air National Guard. Now, his job is to maintain the link between the Air Force and the Air Guard in training of air crews, the maintenance people, and all the others who have a combat duty to perform. Mick, have you got a minute to talk with us over here?
Yes,
I'm sure Major Phelps came to the 114th with rather mixed emotions. Mick, let's ask a few questions here. What was your reaction when the Air Force people said you were coming out to South Dakota to an Air Guard unit?
The first thing I thought was that somebody had given me the wrong orders. Well, I had heard of the 114th. I'd heard of Governor Foss, and certainly his wonderful history in the past. So I thought, well, this will give me an opportunity. Maybe I can learn something as well as pass on a little Air Force information to these people.
Well, Mick, after 3 years with us, do you think that this group could perform its mission that it's called upon to do?
Well, this outfit's ready to go to war right now. I think it is equal and certainly in some cases possibly better than a lot of regular Air Force units.
You ever had any experience with any other such group as this?
No, the only experience I've had other than the Air Force has been with the Canadian Forces. This has been an experience that I think every officer in the Air Force should have an opportunity to get into. It's very enlightening, and I think so many people don't know anything about the Air National Guard, and there's just not enough advertisement, not enough people going around telling them how good the Air Guard is, because it certainly is a worthwhile unit.
Is this the attitude of the Air Force?
The Air Force, I don't think, is thoroughly indoctrinated in the capabilities of the Air Guard, but the word is getting around. Such units as this, naturally this being one of the top units in the Air National Guard, has a very wonderful reputation. Other units are coming up and competing with it now.
Well, Major Phelps, you're going to be with us again here for another year or so, and I would suppose in that time you can do your bit for us in Washington to straighten out this thinking.
Oh, they probably won't let me in Washington, but wherever I go, I'll certainly be spreading a good word for the Sioux Falls, or rather the South Dakota Air National Guard.
Major Phelps, it was nice visiting with you today, and I want to thank you very much for your remarks.
Thank you.